Hi,
Hey,
Elena. Good morning.
hi there. So I'm going to go ahead and record this session and get started with the topic of the settings of Follow Up Boss.
Sure.
Go ahead and get started and share my screen. So let me go ahead and share. Okay, can you see the screen share? Do you see Follow Up Boss?
Yep.
Okay, very good. So I'm going to go into blur mode, so I'm not sharing confidential information. So I'm focusing on some of the settings in Follow Up Boss. There's 4 different screens I'm showing today in the training. So starting with the basic settings of Follow Up Boss, I'm going to be scrolling through, making sure that you update your settings in Follow Up Boss. So each agent has to do this individually if you have multiple users, admins, assistants in your Follow Up Boss account. In order to access this page, in the top right corner, you're either going to see your initials or a picture, and then you'll want to click on My Settings, and that's how you get to this page. So the name that you put here is the name that gets used in email templates, especially if you use any email templates that use the merge field for name. So if you're using any email templates, for example, if I created an email template really quickly that said, thank you, and then had thank you agent name, whatever name you put in that settings page is the name that will appear in the email. So a common mistake I see people make is they'll put something random in there, or they'll put your name in all lowercase. So make sure it makes sense punctuality-wise, grammar-wise, and don't put something that doesn't make sense for signing off on your emails. And I believe that name is also used if you use what's called the Follow Up Boss pixel. So if you use the Follow Up Boss pixel and you have the pop-up appear on your website, I don't have an example to show you today. I can show you a mock-up example from Follow Up Boss. Let me see, display. I don't think Follow Up Boss actually has a display example to show of an agent's name. But if it were to show your name instead of just like the general company name, it would have your picture and your name showing. So you want to make sure that whatever it is you want publicly shown on your website and on an email is the name that you put in on your settings. Now the phone is different. This phone is not public. So it's a bit different. I wish Follow Up Boss made it a little bit clearer of that. This is public, this is not. The phone is your personal number that you want to be alerted for notification reasons. So this is the number that's used for SMS notifications, when you get a new lead, or when there's a lead alert that happens, like if a lead registers on your website or registers on one of your lead generation platforms, then you can set up notifications in Follow Up Boss. If we have time, I'll show that, to alert this phone number. So you can use your personal phone number or any phone number you would like to be alerted. Your leads are not going to see this phone number here. The login email, this one is self-explanatory. This is the email you will use when you log into Follow Up Boss. I do recommend using not a free email account. So what I mean by that is, if you notice here, my email is elena@keetechnology.com. I'm not using like elena@gmail.com, elena@aol.com, at yahoo.com, at hotmail.com. I'm using a paid email account because Follow Up Boss uses this email whenever you send emails to your clients. And so I can go down a rabbit hole of that topic, and perhaps we can have Alex Shukov on a future session if you want to nerd out on email deliverability and the reasons why not to use a free email account. But the short answer is just don't do it. You want to improve your email deliverability by having your own domain. Essentially, it's like your own website. So if you have like your own website, like realestate.com or whatever the website is, use that instead. Input your time zone. You can use this to indicate your business hours in Follow Up Boss. This picture here is the picture that would get used in the top right corner if you put in your headshot. It also would get used in the Follow Up Boss pixel if you show up the call to action pop-up on your website. V-card. So Follow Up Boss last year or earlier this year maybe added this functionality to be able to share your V-card with leads. So you can add as much information as you like, put in your profile picture. I believe it gets pulled from the picture you upload here. Your name, your company name, phone numbers. It's best practice to use your Follow Up Boss number here, your email, your company address, your website, and any other notes you want to add. Then connecting your email. It's best practice to connect the exact same email address that you use for your login email because Follow Up Boss uses your connected email to send email addresses as well. Sometimes, I can't recall exactly when it is, I think Follow Up Boss uses your connected email when you send manual emails and then uses your login email when you send batch emails. So you want to ensure that you have the same email address for both. That way leads are emailed from the exact same email address from both. So best practice, use the same email address for both. Don't use like elena@gmail.com for one and then elena@keetechnology for the other. This share your emails checkbox. What this means is if you are collaborating on a lead, let me just pull up a test lead here. If I had email communication with this test lead and Follow Up Boss, and I was the assigned agent, and then I had an agent who also had access to the lead as a collaborator, then if I had that share emails box checked on, then whoever was a collaborator with that lead or whoever had access to see that lead would be able to see exactly what my emails said with that client. So that there are pros and cons to having that box selected. The pro is for the team owner is transparency for you as the team owner to be able to see what your agents are sending to leads, especially if you have company leads and you want to make sure your agents are taking care of the leads and clients you're sending them. The downside to it is if you do have confidential information being shared, let's say you have a buyer agent and a seller agent and you want to maintain fiduciary responsibility and you don't want the buyer agent being able to see what the seller agent is saying to the customers with confidential information if they're both representing the seller and the buyer on the same transaction. So that is very much up to you and your decision on whether or not you want to require your agents to share emails and whether or not you want to be able to see email communication. Scrolling down past that, your email signature. So a few best practices here. One best practice of something I've noticed is if you are going to create a custom email signature that has your headshot, your logo, your social links, maybe your website, instead of using one giant image, I would recommend making a smarter, quote unquote, email signature. So what I mean by that is when you create like an image, so let's say you create a really nice looking email signature on Canva, you can probably find like email signature templates in Canva really quickly. Let's just find an example. Like these are really pretty and you can just swap out really fast. Like, oh, I'm gonna put my logo there. I'm gonna use this one. I'm gonna put my headshot here. I'm gonna change up the name, download it and upload it to Follow Up Boss. It looks nice and pretty. That sounds great and nice, but if you put your website there, if you put your social links there, nothing is clickable. If you put your phone number there, they're not going to be able to click on it. So like if you're on the if you think, put yourself in the lead's shoes or the client's shoes, anytime you're trying to reach a business, whether it's through an email or if you're Googling their information, if you Google a business, you want to be able to click the phone number you find online and call it. And if they find the email from email communication with you and they're trying to call the phone number that they see in your email signature and they cannot, they're going to get frustrated. And they might get frustrated enough, especially if they don't know you well, they might get frustrated enough so they're not going to call you. Same goes for, they might try to get to your social media, they might try to get to your website, and if they can't, they may move on to someone else. So the workaround for that is a website I love and use, and that website is called Wise Stamp, and you can just use the free version, or at least last time I checked, you can. Wise Stamp is wise like you're smart, wise stamp, and when you go to the website, you can just select for individuals. And you can see here, I've started to create a dummy signature. And after you create the signature, let me see if I remember, it's been a while since I've been to this page of how, if I can recall how to edit this. So if I use the classic template, can I edit what it says? There it goes. Okay, it was just taking a little while. So you can edit your name, your title, your company. I put my phone number, my website. I don't put my email because the email signature is attached to my email address. Image, I put my headshot already. My social links. So one thing to keep in mind with URLs or links as they're known in email signatures is the more links you have in an email, including the links you use in your email signature, the more likely that your emails will end up in spam, or at least in business promotional folders. So if you use, like me, if you use Gmail or Google Workspace, by default, like it's set up, then you'll notice that Gmail creates folders that automatically segment or automatically separate out your emails and automatically detects when an email is a promotional or sales email or something important for you. So like a sales email would be something from a retail store, and then something important would be like a client you're communicating with. And so you want to avoid being clumped in with those retail stores. And one way to avoid being clumped in with those retail stores is by limiting the number of links you use. So this is something you can test, but I try to avoid having more than 3 links in my email, and that includes the links used in my email signature. So I do have 3 links already included in my email signature. I have my website link, my Facebook, and my Instagram here. And then my actual real signature, I have my website, my Facebook, and my YouTube. I've been able to test it, and thankfully I'm able to use I just use one additional link sometimes, and very rarely do I use an actual call to action or link in the emails I send, because I've noticed that plain text emails that rarely use links get the highest deliverability rate and the highest response rates. But with a lot of testing on my own, I've noticed I'm safe to have these 3 links in my email signature, and then sometimes I will send an email that has 1 link in the email. And that includes when you're sending newsletters or batch emails as well, just 1 link. So not like a newsletter with a ton of links, just 1. So if you're used to sending a newsletter with a ton of links, that's another conversation to have there about maybe reconsidering that strategy. But after you create your email signature, then you can just copy and paste. You can highlight, copy and paste it into the signature editor. So in case you missed it, I clicked this edit button here, and then you can select all and paste it into the signature. I'm not going to do it here because I don't want to mess up mine. You can paste it into the signature editor. I'm going to open the notifications page to go into in a second. Daily hot sheet emails. So Follow Boss has this feature available. If you check it, you'll receive an email every day from Follow Boss if you would like to. I've personally disabled this because I just log into Follow Boss to tell me who to call. I log in to look at my smart list that I've set up to tell me who to call and look at my tasks in my inbox. But if you like the daily hot sheets, it basically gives you a recap of the leads you've received, any new leads, and a recap of activity from your existing leads, like people coming back to the website, people maybe opening emails and activity there. So if you like to have that snapshot activity of people in Follow Boss, then you certainly can receive that daily email. But personally, for me, I find it more valuable just to log into Follow Boss and look at what I need to do by looking at the smart lists, my tasks, and my inbox. Now, my number, what you see here, as well as what you see in your calls and your outgoing calls, these three sections will depend on whether or not you, one, have the dialer, and two, if you have more than one user in Follow Boss. In my case, I have both. I have paid for the Follow Boss dialer, and I have more than one person in my account. So as a result, I see all of the options that you could possibly have available. So my number here is the Follow Boss number. It's not my personal cell phone number. My number is the Follow Boss number. So what this means is when I text out of Follow Boss or when I call out of Follow Boss, either through the desktop, which is what you see here, or through my app, this is the phone number that leads see. So I could change the number if I'd like to. I could search for area codes if I wanted to find something in my area. 214, I could see if there are any available there or not. So I could see if there's any 972s available and pick one there. I can mute, so let me see. I've never really looked at this one, what mute sound effects is. Mute the chimes that play when a call is placed and hung up. Incoming calls will still play the ringing sound. I've never noticed chimes, but if that bugs you, you can turn that off. You can make a test call to make sure that the calling feature works for you. Best practice for making calls inbound and outbound out of Follow Boss. I personally just use my cell phone to make calls for the highest call quality, but that's because I don't have good quality headphones. If I were making calls back to back, making outbound calls, which I don't, but if I were an ISA, if I were an agent making prospecting calls, I would probably use high quality headphones. I've heard really good things about the Jabra Evolve headphones, something like the Jabra Evolve 85s. And then if you receive an incoming call from someone, it's typically best practice to not select the option I have. I have a very different business model. I'm not an agent, so I work a 9 to 5. I don't want my cell phone to ring, personal cell phone to ring. But for you, it's different. You would probably select to have your personal cell phone to ring and to have Follow Boss ring at the same time whenever you receive an incoming call. You can select for how long you want it to ring. This is what Follow Boss recommends for how long it rings. And then if no one answers the voicemail that they receive, you'll record that in Follow Boss. And once you record it, you can press play and listen to what the voicemail sounds like. When you make an outgoing call in Follow Boss, this is the number that gets that is used. So if I were to make an outbound call, it would actually use this personal number. I actually don't want to do that, so I'm going to change this setting with you right here. I've transitioned my previous personal Follow Boss number to a team inbox number. This way, if I text or call someone and they call me back and I'm not available, the rest of my team is available. So that's another session we can talk about of how I transitioned my personal inbox into a team inbox. So if you're a team owner and you don't want to be a slave to your inbox and your incoming calls or callbacks, how you can transition it to a team inbox so that other team members can help you out. So I'll select it to go my outgoing calls to be from that number. Calling method. So what that means is when I pull up a person in Follow Boss and I want in Follow Boss on the computer, when I click this phone number to call, when I click on it, Follow Boss prompts me, do I want to call through the internet? Meaning, do I want to call from my computer right here, which if I selected that, I better have headphones, otherwise it's going to use the speaker, or I guess my microphone in this case, and then speaker to hear the person, or mobile phone. And if I use and select mobile phone, what will happen is I'll get a call immediately on my phone from Follow Up Boss. And then when I answer the call, it'll say press 1 to dial your lead. And once that happens, it will start calling Micah. So when I had that option selected in the settings for calling method, ask each time, that means each time I press the number of the person in Follow Up Boss, it's going to ask me and have that drop-down menu each time. Do I want to call through my computer or call through mobile? So I always have it ask me each time, but maybe you always only want to use your computer if you're at your computer, or maybe you always only want to use mobile and have Follow Up Boss call. And then using merge field. So I use the merge field for our team uses the merge field for our Calendly links, and we use our Calendly links as a merge field in our email templates. And so whenever we email someone, we can use that as a custom merge field. So if you look in Follow Up Boss, let me see if I can find it. When you send an email or create an email template, there's like a custom agent merge field. It's been so long since I set this up and used it. Here, agent merge field. So if you scroll down on this drop down for merge fields, it's this agent merge field button. So there's lots of use cases here. Some people use it, like loan officers will use it for specific license numbers for compliance that they always have to have in their email templates. We personally use it to send our own personal calendar links. So whenever like someone is a client of ours and we're ready to schedule a call with them, we just have it pull in the correct assigned customer success manager's calendar link. So lots of use cases there. You're just only allowed one custom merged field per user in Follow Up Boss. Now, I'm trying to make this session 30 minutes long, so I'm going to speed past the notification settings page, and then I'll have to reserve what I wanted to go through. I wanted to go through 2 other pages. I thought I would have plenty of time to do it, and I realized, no, that's actually quite a bit of content. I'll need to go through those other 2 pages of different session. So the notifications settings, you can either access it from the settings page here by clicking on Manage Notifications, or you can access it by clicking this bell icon and clicking the settings icon here. So here is where you can adjust how you want to be alerted when certain things happen in Follow Up Boss. You'll notice that I've disabled notifications. I just don't prefer them, but you can enable browser notifications. If you enable them, then when you have a browser notification, then you'll see something go across the top of your screen. If you're at your computer, that will go across the screen when there's notification. And then when you opt into SMS notifications, you obviously get a text message. So here is where you can adjust what happens when different events happen. So when you receive a new lead, you can select what happens. You can select if you want there to be a notification added to the notification bell. Now this one gets overlooked so often unless you become conditioned to using it. The notification bell, I compare this to the Facebook notifications. So when you go log into Facebook and you see the notifications in the top right corner, that's what this is. You have to manually remember to look at this. And I never do, so I hardly use this at all for any of my notifications. The desktop browser notification is what I mentioned. If you enabled it, you have to be at your computer to see it. You'll see a pop-up appear that goes across your screen if you have the computer open and your browser open. A mobile push notification, in order to have and receive this, you have to have the Follow Up Boss app on your phone, and you have to have notifications enabled for the Follow Up Boss app. Text message, in order to receive the text message, you have to opt in, and then email, in order to receive that, you just have to open your email. So I don't recommend just like all of a sudden enabling everything for everyone. That's just going to defeat the whole purpose. I recommend being very intentional of what notifications you enable for which events. So receiving a new lead, very important. I recommend turning on mobile push and text message. Being assigned a new lead, mobile push and text message. A new inquiry, mobile push and text message. Receiving a new text message, mobile push. Receiving a new message through an inbox app. So if you don't know what that is, that's basically if you use an outside integration that receives a message or a text message. So if you use Texting Betty or Lead Engage or Street Text, anytime you receive a text message from a lead, that goes into the inbox app is what it's called. You want to be alerted when you receive a message from a lead, so I recommend the mobile push. You're assigned a conversation, probably a mobile push. So I recommend being very intentional of selecting your own personal notification settings. Now, please note, this is your personal notification settings. So each agent has control over their own personal notification settings. So it's probably best to either have an assistant set this up for each agent on your team, and in the future when you onboard agents, or you have SOPs to tell your agents what to do. But in reality, an agent's probably not going to have the time or desire to set this up for themselves. You probably want to have someone dedicated on your team to do this for them. I'm just going to fly by through this list just to make sure there are no events on here. You may not know what they mean. So when you're assigned an inbox conversation, that means if I received a text message from Anthony and I think, this is a better text message to go to Jesse on my team, then that means if Jesse receives a notification that she was assigned a conversation, that means I went here and said, I don't want this in my inbox. I'm going to give it to Jesse. Now it's as if Anthony texted her and not me. That text message is in her inbox instead of mine. Let's go back to notification settings. You are mentioned in a note or a reply. So I love this feature. If I need to get a hold of one of my team members for a specific client, whether it's a question or I need to let them know, hey, you need to reach out to this person, then I can say at Megan, please reach out to client. So this is one very important notification that an agent needs to be aware of and receive notifications about. So when you are mentioned, I recommend receiving an email notification. One of your teams is mentioned in a note, notification, probably an email. Same with a pond. Added as collaborator, I personally wouldn't need a notification for that, but maybe you do. When you're assigned a task, I wouldn't want a notification because I look at tasks anyway. An email sent to a lead was opened, definitely no notification. You would be bombarded with so many notifications from that. Same with reacting with an emoji, no notifications. That's way too many notifications. Replies to your note. So that's as if like you're sending messages, except you're sending the message in a note in a profile. I definitely want to be notified about that. In a team inbox, which again, I will in the future do a session on the team inbox. When you're mentioned, I recommend getting a notification. In the team inbox, when you receive a text, voicemail, or missed call, I recommend getting a mobile push. When you get a message from an inbox app, if it's in the team inbox, I recommend getting a mobile push. And then a pond, when a new lead is added to a pond, I personally wouldn't have a notification because if a new lead is added to a pond, then you have smart lists set up to be prompting you or the agents to call. An inquiry is received, again, use smart lists. A lead is added to the pond, definitely not. That would be so many notifications. So be very, very mindful of the types of notifications you receive for which events. I don't want you to become blind and your agents become numb, I guess is a better word, numb to notifications. Be very particular of what notifications you send to you. And if you have agents in your team or your company, to your the rest of your agents as well. So hopefully you have found this valuable, and feel free to ask questions within the Facebook community if you want to get clarity on anything that was gone over in this session with the settings or the notifications in Follow Boss.